Okay, so last time I talked about some of the few anime I dropped over the course of, well, I don't even know how long it's been, but I dropped some anime pretty much. And you know, everyone tends to do it whether you like it or not. You probably are going to come to a point where everything and anything just feels stale. And it happens to me, so it's going to happen to you if it hasn't already. But today, that's not what we're here to talk about. Today is actually going to be the Horizon Before the Dawn, in which in this case, the anime I plan to watch before I potentially may or may not drop them. And I picked out a few that I think at least a majority of you have either recommended to me or just have been on my plan to watch list for the past couple of years or so. And if all goes well, these series that I'm going to be mentioning will all have the room for video potential, because from the look of things, all these series have been talked about to a pretty high standard by at least a majority of the anime community. So I don't doubt that they will be good. I just hope for the better that none of these are series that hop on the train of some of the anime I eventually drop. But to put things into perspective though, some of these series I actually have started on some note, and I ended up deciding on a few of these because of the fact that I think they have an amazing shot becoming one of my favorites of all time. But of course, I do have a ton of anime that I plan to watch, so it's not like these are the only series I'm ever gonna watch for the next year or so, because as of this year so far, it's been pretty rough for me when it comes to watching anime. I mean, I've only completed a handful of long-running series this year, starting from Fullmetal Alchemist, Assassination Classroom, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and Haikyuu on a rewatch, which to be honest may or may not be a lot depending on the person. But either way though, if there is a series out there that you've been wanting to recommend to me for a while now, go for it. I'm all for exploring and trying out new things, but for now, these are the series from the catalog of all the anime I plan to watch. So first things first, let's talk about Gintama. Gintama has certainly been on my radar for some time now, and I've seen how the community has come so close together when it comes to watching this series. It has been something I fairly watched a bit of, but I put on pause due to a plethora of reasons. But I will say it has been a series I've kept my eye on for quite a while now, and because I know once I get to a certain point within the series, I will for sure be one to appreciate it for its comedic gags and great storytelling. I think from first hand though, and I don't really know if I can speak for a majority when it comes to this, but a thing I personally see struggling with, including myself, when it comes to Gintama, is just getting into it and taking that extra step to understand the comedy and to understand how everything comes full swing is just kind of weird in a sense, because I know for me it's really hard to sit down sometimes and watch the series for what it is right now. Most of the comedic jokes aren't really funny to me early on, and with how subjective comedy is, it's just something that has to click in order for me to get really latched onto the series. Either way though, I will for sure pick it back up, and I do plan to watch the entirety of it at some point in time, because I'm fairly confident that I won't be disappointed later on in this series. Next up, we have Gurren Lagann, and I think a big reason of why I haven't watched this series yet is because of the fact that I'm just not too big a fan of mechas. And yeah, I know I just cut off watching Eva, but can you really tell me that that is a show about mecha? You can't, can you? Well, it actually was one of the reasons I started Eva, because I wanted to step my foot into the genre, and I've seen a bit of Code Geass with the first season, but I just never got around to finishing the second, which is also something else I plan to watch in the near future. But I think you can kind of see what I mean when it comes to my experience with the mecha genre. On the occasion, however, Gurren Lagann looks absolutely incredible, and it's just been another one of these series I've had my eye on for quite a while now, in the case of just hoping this can be the series that finally gets me branched into a whole nother world of anime and manga. Another thing to note is that I've never really been a huge fan of the studio that worked on Gurren Lagann, Studio Trigger. I mean, with Kill la Kill and the recent Star Wars Vision episode, I just think that is not really my thing. Don't get me wrong, the effects and flow of the animation looks phenomenal. It's just a core style of Trigger that just isn't my cup of tea. But with Gurren Lagann, I think it kind of branches things out a bit, and I mean, I've seen how visually pleasing the series is and how it can be, so on a note, it's easy for me to say that this series is definitely one I plan to watch. Moving on next though is the Fate series, and I've set my foot a bit into this one already with the original Fate Zero and its first season, but when talking about the Fate series, it's almost like you're trying to never understand what the hell is going on. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw two fans of the Fate franchise agree on where to actually start the series without getting spoiled, because from my knowledge, it's pretty much impossible. You can't. You're gonna get spoiled wherever you start. However, unlike Studio Trigger, I think I started to get consumed by the excessive amount of crazy animation that's behind Ufotable and their non-tax paying level of animation. I find it funny though, because even before knowing really anything about the Fate series, I always used to poke shots at the series because it was just funny to do at times. But now, since I kind of got a grasp of what the series is actually about, I have to say it seems rather interesting when I actually start to think about it. And to be honest, I still don't even know the order to watch this series, and so if you have any idea of that, just let me know if it's a bit accurate or not, because I honestly don't know the timeline, or literally anybody tells me, they always argue. So whatever it may be, just let me know the most accurate one. Whichever one has the most likes is probably the one I'm just gonna go by. But if I learned anything from this series, is that it's way too hard to tell where to actually start and or end the series at. And finally, Yu Yu Hakusho. I think out of all the series I've mentioned on this list, it's definitely the one I've seen the most of. I've gone all the way up to the Dark Tournament arc, but to tell you the truth, I can't even remember a majority of it. So, which is why I plan on starting from the beginning and making it a goal of mine to complete the series in its entirety, just because I think it deserves it. It's been an anime as well as a manga that rivals some of the best of all time, as well as it being in the discussion of having some of the best arcs in all of shonen, while all the more being debated as the better Yoshihiro Togashi story, with Hunter x Hunter being its rival. And I can tell you though, that I do think the series has some points of interest with some things I'm usually fond of when it comes to watching anime from the jump. For example, like the world and its unique power system. For its series to be as old as it is, Togashi is definitely a creative thinker when it comes to his stories, but I'm not really sure if that has to tie in with how many hours he usually spends on Dragon Quest. But regardless, I think once I get back on the wave of Yu Yu Hakusho, I don't doubt it could also just become one of these older shonen series I take an insane liking to. But for now and for the time being, these have all been all the anime I plan to watch. But with that, everyone, I think that about wraps things up. This has been Augie. As always, make sure if you enjoyed the video to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Also, make sure to check out Energy's channel because he is the one who edited the video and he also just makes some cool stuff, so check him out in the description box down below. Also, if you're new here, let me know what anime you plan to watch here in the near future. And don't forget to turn on the bell notifications, that way you never miss out on one of your favorite anime and or manga videos. We also have a Discord in the link in the description box down below if any of you would like to join. And with that, everyone, my Twitter's at AnimeAugie, and I'll make sure to catch each and every single one of you guys in the next video. Peace.